Hi friends, it's Anna here today, and we are going to be sewing up a fun top today. This is the Jennifer Tie Front Dolman. It is so cute. I love the little detail of the tie front on it. And because of the dolman, it's going to be super quick. I will say though that this pattern also includes sleeves. So I'm going to be sewing up two versions. I'm going to be sewing up one with just the basic no sleeve. And then I'm going to be sewing up where I'm going to be adding the sleeves and the cuffs. So let's get started. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get that knot. And I know you're like, ooh, this looks so like not confusing. That's not the word. It looks so like advanced. Like, am I going to be able to sew this up? Yes, you are. It's going to be so easy. And you're going to be like, oh, that's all there's to it. You'll see. So what we're going to do first is we're going to grab our front bodice. I have this really, really fun fabric for my sleeveless one. And then I have this like sweater knit for my one with cuffs. I thought that would be so perfect. Like I have like a little bit of both worlds, you know? So then I'm going to grab my bodice here and I'm going to open it up. You see right here, I can see like all my little like pieces here. This is my front. It's all cut in one piece and you've got this little area here. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold it so that this little rectangle thing is facing each other right here. So you can see the matching up here together, right sides together. So you're matching here all the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our sewing machine. You can either do sewing machine or you could do serger. It's up to you. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it with my sewing machine, and you're going to use a stretch stitch. All right, so as I'm sewing up and then sewing all the way, I want to also sew up the edge here because that's going to be my tie. So I want to have that tie have the finished edge. And then I did the same on my other top that I'm making the long sleeve for because they're the same steps. And then I'm also going to go ahead and grab and prep my tie for the other side. So we're going to grab that tie. We're going to fold it right sides together like a hot dog. And I just throw my trash over to the side and worry about it another time. Anyway, and then we're going to sew one side shut and then go down over to the other side. Again, using your preferred stretch stitch. So you can go ahead and use your sewing machine or your serger. Like I said, I think I'm going to use my sewing machine, and I probably either will do a zigzag stitch or a triple stitch. But I think I'm just going to go with a zigzag stitch just because it's so easy to do a zigzag stitch and it works great. I am working with ITY, and I'm telling you, the ITY fabric is just a little moody sometimes. You want to make sure that if you're working with a fabric that's really light, you either get your fabric over to the side so you can have some traction, or you can put like a little piece of something underneath it, a little piece of interfacing or some kind of tissue or something that's going to keep it stabilized. All right, so we're gonna grab and we're gonna trim like this corner here. Now you can't trim that corner obviously if you did a serger. So for the tie, you know, if you did a serger like I did on the other one, you're not gonna be able to trim that, so it won't give you like a very square corner. Let me have me a little tie turner. We're gonna turn this around. You can give it a really good steam to make sure it lays nice and flat. So there's your one tie. I'm going to do the same on my other tie for my other top. I'm just doing the same thing, same exact thing for both tops. The only time I'm going to change anything is when I get to the sleeves, because obviously one has sleeves and one doesn't, and same with the cuffs. But everything else is just the same. All right, now once you've sewn all the way around the whole thing, up, over, over, and over, we're going to grab our scissors and we're going to snip into the corners towards the thread. I already cut that. So don't cut the thread though, just go all the way up to the corner where the thread is. Then we're going to open it and we should be able to flip that tie over. Bring it up, bring it over, out. I don't have my little stick that I usually use, So I'm just going to use this here. Oh, that's going to be so cute. Look at how cute that looks right there. Even just the front part. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and grab our back bodice, like so. And wherever your tie is, so they're going to face right sides together. My tie is going this way, right? Towards the red part. Red and yellow. Well, there's red over here too. And here I my marking, I'm going to place my tie. You're going to match it up and we're going to sew it. So you can go ahead and give it a little basting stitch here to sew it on. So let's go baste that on there, and then we're going to go ahead and sew it together. And this top is basically done, because then we just move on to our neckline. Now for our neckline, we're doing, I'm going to do the binding. And so what you want to do is you want to grab your neck binding and you want to fold it wrong sides together down the middle first. You give it a nice crease, and then we're going to open up where that crease was. We're going to bring those two sides into the middle crease, both sides, and give it another really nice steam. And then after you've creased it like that, then you're going to fold it onto itself and crease it again. So you have those creases, because it's going to be like binding. You're going to be making binding. Once it's all creased and you have all those nice creases, you're going to grab it and you're going to fold it right sides together. And you're going to sew this right up here at the neckline right here. So I'm going to do all that and sew it together to create the neck binding, because then afterwards we'll be able to put it together and everything. All right, so now we've got our bodice and we've got our back with our little strap on there. We got our neck facing. We're just going to put it to the side. Okay, this is where things get a little bit different if you're doing sleeveless or if you're doing sleeves or no sleeves. Because if you're doing the one with the no sleeves, we're just going to lay out our bodice, either the front or back. I want to make sure that my little tie is on the inside, so it's not going to get caught on the outside. And with the sleeveless, I'm going to sew both the sleeve, the shoulders and the sides. So we're going to match up the shoulders. Now for the ones that you're doing sleeves, we're only going to sew the shoulders right now, because we're going to attach your sleeve first. But since I'm not doing sleeves on this one, because it's a dolman style that has like a little bit of like, it kind of looks like a cap sleeve, because it's like already has the sleeve on there. I am not going to be doing sleeves on this one. So I'm going to sew the shoulders here, and I'm going to also sew the sides, right sides together. And I'm going to be doing that on my serger. Do it on your serger, or I prefer stretch stitch on your sewing machine. So then we're going to match up here, like I said, the sides, and make sure that that tie is right there. You're going to catch that tie. Now make sure that when you do the other side, you put that tie in. You do not want to catch the tie, like accidentally catch the tie on the other side and get it caught. So I just want to move it in when I'm sewing this side, the opposite side. Now, like I said, if you're doing sleeves, which I am for this other version, all we're going to sew up is your shoulder seams. I'm going to grab my bodice, front and back, facing right sides together, and sew those shoulder seams, and that's it. Because then we'll be attaching our sleeves. All right, so this top is basically done. We just need the neckline and the neckband and the hem. But look at this, so cute. And then right here in the front, you've got your ties. So then you just tie your tie right here. So cute. Okay, so that is going to be adorable. So there's that one right there. So we'll finish this up. Clip your threads. That's actually my basting stitch. I can pull that out. Okay, and we'll come back to hem this and do the neckline in a minute. So I'm going to put this one aside. And then the one that I'm doing sleeves to, we're going to put it over here. forgot to baste the tie on this one, so I'll have to do that. But we're going to open up that area where my sleeve's going to go. This is my shoulder seam. We're going to grab our sleeve and make sure that you match up your front and your back. This is my back. I have a notch here to show me where my back is. And this is my back piece. We're going to match up the shoulder top notch and match that up right there in the center line. And then we're going to go right sides together towards the front. And then right sides together towards the back. And do that for both sleeves, and sew that in with your preferred stretch stitch, which to me is going to be my serger on this area right here. All right, let's go sew that up. All righty, so now we've got sleeves, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this tie is going towards the inside. I did not baste it yet, so I'm just going to pin it. And be very careful when I sew it on, when I sew my sides. Because we sewed our sides already for the other one that didn't have sleeves, but we have not sewn the sides for this one because it had sleeves. So we had to sew the sleeves on first, and then we're going to sew our sides. So now we're going to sew that side seam all the way down our sleeve. Now I'm doing the sleeve that has kind of like the wider angle at the hem of the sleeve. So like the balloon sleeve. So what I'm going to do is after I sew this all up, I'm going to go over to my sewing machine. I'm going to put in a basting stitch here at the top, at the bottom of my sleeve, because I'm going to gather this a little bit to fit my cuff. So I want to put in a basting stitch there at the bottom. So I'm going to do that on both sleeves. I'm also going to go ahead and grab my cuff and prep that by folding right sides together at the short raw edge and sewing that edge. And our neck facing is already prepped. We did that earlier by creating like a binding, neck binding, I'm sorry. All right, so I forgot to add the gathering stitch at the cuffs, but I think I'm going to be just fine if I don't add the gathering stitch, but you can if you want. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fold my cuff, and I'm going to match that cuff right sides together with my sleeve. So I'm going to mark the half of my cuff. I just go from the seam to the half, and then the same for my sleeve from the seam over here to where the half would be. And then I'm going to fit my cuff into that sleeve and match up. Now I didn't do, it's not super wide, so I can go ahead and do it this way. But if it is, like if your sleeve is a lot wider than your cuff, you definitely want to go ahead and do that gathering stitch, or it's not going to do a nice gather. Also, this fabric is very, very stretchy, so it'll be fine. So I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit and make sure that it's all even, and then put my clip in there. And this is the reason why I always cut my threads, because do you see that? It's just getting in my way. Very annoying. And then do the same on the other side, and then do the same on the other cuff. And then all we'll have next to do is the neck binding and then hemming, and we'll be done. All right, now for the neck area, right here, we're going to go ahead and quarter our neck binding and our neck area. And to do so, we're going to match up our shoulder seams right sides together, just match them up and go towards the front of the neckline. And I like to do like a little notch. It's just a tiny little notch is going to get eaten by my seam allowance. But if you don't want to do a notch, you can just go ahead and put a little clip there to mark your spot. And then I'm going to go to the back and do the same thing. Then I'm going to go ahead and match up the front and back where I marked and go to the sides, because my shoulder seams are not my quarter. So you want to make sure that you mark that. And then we're going to do the same exact thing to our neckband, our neck binding. And I'm going to trim these threads first. Okay, so our neck binding, we're going to fold it to the front You're going to open up, even though you have those creases already made, you're going to open up those creases and we're going to mark it. Here's the front and the back, and then we're going to go to the sides. And I'm going to do the same for my other top because both are getting the same treatment. All right, so I'm going to turn my shirt inside out because it's easier to just fit the binding inside the shirt. So I'm going to match up the binding with the neckline. So the back, right sides together. Here's the back seam. Match that up. And then the next seam here, which is the side, match that up. And then match all the other quarters. And then we're going to go over to our sewing machine and sew that with your preferred stretch stitch. I'm going to do my serger again, but if you want to do your sewing machine, that's fine. And you're going to sew at that first crease right there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and push our seam allowance towards the binding. Fold that first fold and then that second fold down right there. And we're going to go all the way around the neckline doing that. And then we're going to go back and top stitch that down with your preferred stitch. So you can do it this way, or you can just do a regular neckband. It is up to you, however you want to do it. With this fabric, it's actually really easy to do this binding because it just like it folds nicely. And I like the look of the binding. Like if you know, I don't know, sometimes it looks a little bit fancier than just the neckline. So it really is up to you how you want to finish that off. And then we're going to go ahead and hem the bottom of our bodice and the bottom of our sleeves. I'm going to be using my cover stitch, so I just need to, it's my serger is a serger slash cover stitch, so it's gonna be my same serger. So I know sometimes it can be a little confusing, like how do you hem with your serger? But I'm not really hemming with my serger. I am turning it into a cover stitch, and that's how I'm doing the hem. So I'm gonna do all that right there. And actually, when I was cutting the neckband, I didn't really match up the colors, but they match up pretty well. Like, I guess I could have gone over a little bit, but they look really good. And then we're going to go ahead and do our hem. We're going to do a 1/2 inch up. I'm going to steam that, and then I'm going to top stitch for our hem. And then same for hemming the sleeveless, if you're going to hem the sleeves. And then I'm going to do the neckline just like I did this one on this other top, and then we'll be done. All right, I have changed my stitch to a cover stitch. And so we're going to hem and do our neckline, and then we're done. So this is what the cover stitch looks like on the right side, and on the wrong side, it just finishes it all off. This is just an extra thread that doesn't need to be there. Looks so good. All right, now for the neckline, because I want the top to look good, we're going to start from the top right here. Put that in there. And then we're going to sew it on. All right, so there is my neckline in the front, and then the back is just finished off. So that looks really good. All right, so let me finish my sleeves and then finish the neckband and the hem of the other one, and I'll show you what they look like. Alrighty, friends, we are done. How cute did this turn out? I love the tie. It looks complicated, but it was so easy to make. It is super cute. Look at that. Easy to tie too. I love it. I think it brings it all in, and it just makes you look really, really good. I love the scoop neckline, but remember there's a higher neckline as well. And I love the one without the sleeves, but I'm going to show you what it looks like with sleeves. All right, friends, here's the long sleeve version of the top. I think it turned out so good. This is perfect for fall that it's coming up soon. The sleeve, the cuffs look really good, still with the scoop neckline. But yeah, I love how these turned out. Comment below and let me know which one's your favorite, sleeveless, with sleeves, or if you're just going to make both of them. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.